call this meeting to order by taking roll call attendance. Judy Williams-Kalaki.
Here.
Judy Miller.
Here.
Ravian Bejios.
Here.
Terry Barris.
Here.
Anne Marie Oklubchia.
Here.
Alan is one of the ones running a minute late, which is why we postponed the meeting. Alan is one of the ones running a minute late, which is why we postponed the meeting a little bit. So he will be attending and will note when he comes in. Mike Karolevitz.
Here.
And Kristen Wilhelm.
Here.
All right, Jennifer is also here, and we do have a visitor. Glenn, is it Morrow? Here, and we do have a visitor. Glenn, is it Morrow?
Morrow.
Okay, he is under the business portion of our meeting, so we will wait till later to hear more from him. Thank you for letting us adjust the meeting and for adjusting the agenda. Because of the people running late on the board. So we are going to go to the approval of the minutes, which is agenda item 4 from our March 28th, 2022 meeting. Comments or questions or adjustments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Mike, anyone has a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I do have
Oh.
one thing I have to raise here.
Terry.
On that upcoming library board meeting, or not, sorry, on the colon report. Sorry.
Yes.
It might be might be an ambiguity about production equipment. It was basically video production equipment.
Okay.
So which I can't.
Under the colon report, which is very close to the very
I know
ending,
exactly. Okay.
video production equipment.
Okay.
I was wondering what they were producing there, that you toured and saw, but I trusted you. Perfect, okay. Any other comments about the minutes? Any other comments about the minutes? All right.
Since we have a first and a second, he came in after officially, you should ask the first and the second to accept his amendment.
Okay. Mike, do you accept the amendment?
Yes.
Radian?
I do.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Radian?
I do.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Then all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. We are going to have a presentation now from Glenn Morrow. I will just let you take it away.
Get out of here. So,
Yeah.
you may have heard that the federal government is trying all kinds of things to get the government or get the economy started again. There's been a lot of federal funds coming down. Most of them relate to roads and programs that we normally ask for grants or just more money in those pockets. There is a new program called carbon reduction. It's the bill. So again, there's certain pots that relate to my roads and so forth, but there's carbon reduction. So there's this brand new program. One of the things that they're throwing money at, I should say they funded, is I've been directed to look into putting here in Franklin electric charging stations.
Mhm.
So I'm not exactly sure. I've made a request to our state person. I have not received information yet whether charging stations. I have not received information yet whether charging stations could involve more than just our fleet. So for the public. So I'm looking at public charging stations. Mayor's asked me to consider those for Franklin, and he suggested the library would be a good location to put some charging stations. Just to let you know, it's a good location to put some charging stations. Just to let you know, it's the equipment alone is about $10,000. I'm looking at level 2. If you're familiar with charging station, I think I have this right. Level 1 is what you do at your house. Level 2 takes a few hours to charge fully, and then there's the level 3, which you'd find on the end of the equipment. So I'm looking at the level 2 stations. It's about $10,000 for the public. Comes with where you can put a credit card in and do other things. One station could actually charge 2 at the same time. So I don't know how many we're looking at, I still have to go to common council to talk. I have suggested that I should come to you and find out if you are in support of it. If you are, I'd appreciate a recommendation to common council that you'd be supportive of placing these stations at the library.
Did you make him aware that that is on our long-term capital improvement
I
plan?
was told that.
The level charger that I was looking at was a level 3, which is like a whole day.
Oh.
It's like be like a whole day of charging, so.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
based on what Glenn was saying, he said a level 1 was the level.
Well, whatever the levels are, she was looking at a slow, he's
I was looking
looking
at
at
the
a
slow. Yeah,
quicker
sorry.
and, okay, not the
I
turbo.
don't have electric vehicle, I may have.
Look at
Looking
the
a
slow. Yeah,
quicker
sorry.
and, okay, not the
I don't
turbo.
have electric vehicle, I may have reversed those, but yeah, there's one level that's, you plug in and it charges all night.
Right.
Another level within an hour or so, and the other level's a matter of minutes, so.
Okay, so you're looking at the mid,
I'm looking
yeah.
at the middle.
So you're aware that we were also, so you're aware that we were also.
Well, I'm just wondering, you know, just hearing the conversations about, let's say that you've got a gas vehicle, right? You go to the gas station, you're there for maybe 10 minutes unless you go inside for some snacks and then you're gone, right? So if you're gonna be putting in a station that is gonna take like an hour, or something, unless somebody's gonna be coming into the library and then charging their car, you know, that would be one thing, but what other locations have you looked at? Police station is, other places where.
So yeah, we've looked, it's been a learning experience for me, I don't have electric charger, but, apparently folks don't allow them to go to full empty, or very seldom do. So people kind of plan their day, where can they go,
Sure.
kind of like a bumblebee going from flower to flower. So the thought is, you know, you leave the house, you might do a little driving, but you would say come to the library, you may, and then go on your merry way, so nodding your head apparently.
Yeah, so we're in the process of purchasing an electric vehicle, so I've learned a lot about it recently. And I just think that they're going to be everywhere eventually, because in 2023 there's going to be so many cars produced that are electric vehicles that there's just this great need for it. So yes, absolutely, and I learned about how far you can go, because I was nervous about that and how long it takes to charge, but I think it's a great opportunity to bring people into the library.
Exactly,
But what about the revenue with the people into the library?
exactly.
But what about the revenue? Would the library receive the revenue from
So,
that? That's
not-
probably not your.
I have not thought that
question.
far ahead. I did find out that the system I'm looking at, I spacing the name, E something, I think is, anyway, it's one of the larger ones out there. The E something, I think is, anyway, it's one of the larger ones out there. They, we can set any price we want, so, you know, whatever it costs us, some places I'm told really charges what the costs are, so that really to encourage the community to
Sure.
use electric vehicles. Other folks make a pretty good price, collectively the city, so perhaps if it was in the library, I guess to answer that, when maybe older woman can comment on this, but I would suggest that if you want the revenue, then maybe you should pay. You know, it's an 80-20 grant. So I'm looking at these stations, the equipment will get you 2 ports to plug people in. So that if you have a budget of, you know, 2,000, that would probably be appropriate. And then, yeah, I would support that. That'd be my recommendation. On the other hand, if you just say, here's our spot, you can do it, then maybe if the city spends their funds for it, then maybe, you know.
Is
just
there a
gonna
big
ask that.
difference?
I was told, I didn't price them out, but another guy trying to sell me the very inexpensive ones told me it's more on the magnitude of like $100,000 per station. So that's.
And once
For
it's,
chargers.
and once it's set up, let's say once it's set charging station, if you then wanted to convert it to a higher level, would it be starting 0 again and?
I believe it's.
Okay, it's a completely different,
machine.
okay.
And then.
So it wouldn't be like you could just upgrade for a couple thousand more down the road or
Yeah,
something
and
like that?
I didn't bring them with me,
Okay.
but they did quote me prices.
Sure.
There are annual fees to go with this, so.
Okay.
There's software that involves come here for a charge. So the software and some of those kinds of, there are some annual maintenance fees that would be associated in addition to the initial cost.
Would this be new responsibility for the city in that it becomes somebody or somebody's jobs in order to, let's say that, you know, software needs to be upgraded, or the thing all of a sudden stops working. I mean, who owns it when it's all done? Maybe sitting on the library's property, but isn't anybody in the library gonna do anything if the thing doesn't
Yeah,
work?
so the company that sells these, part of those annual fees would service, and company that sells these, part of those annual fees would service in case something were to go wrong and you
Okay,
need to
so
fix it.
it's a
Built-in
service
service, yeah.
contract.
Yeah, there's like a service contract and a software maintenance
Sure.
contract.
And what, do you know what the cost of that is?
I do, I didn't bring it with me. It's, I think it's like less than 1,000. I didn't bring it with me. It's, I think it's like less than 1,000 a year.
I think Glenn was obviously just trying to get our initial approval to proceed as possibly this. And I guess personally, I feel like it was already on our radar.
Yeah.
We were gonna move forward with it anyways. We should definitely, you
Well,
know,
the library could use the funds.
Right.
And it would decline the general fund budget.
Exactly.
Maybe we partner, the city pays portion, the library pays a portion, and based on that, determines who gets how many funds, but I'm looking, we could probably do a little more research. We have St. Luke's Medical Center has one, Hales Corners. So
I
I
do-
think the idea is, we support the concept, we just need more details, and I think with that, you could probably just go ahead with
with our approval.
It took me about 3 or 4 days just to get a return phone call from this company, so.
Okay.
And that just happened Friday, so I'm still new, trying to
Is
figure out
that
what's
because
going
they're busy?
on. I would suspect so.
An electric vehicle, I know you've checking into
I
them,
got a
but
hybrid, but it's not a plug-in.
it's not a plug-in. Do anybody? Because I would think, you know, I if I had a young child come to story time, I plug it in for the 45 minutes I'm here at story time. That's going to be plenty of time to give me partial charge. And I think I'm here at story time. That's going to be plenty of time to give me partial charge. And I think that's very adequate, you know, or my child is across at soccer practice over there, or we come to the park and we park here and plug in. So I don't think the model or the type you're proposing, I think that probably for this model or the type you're proposing, I think that probably for this community is appropriate, because they're gonna drive home and plug in, right?
So
Well, that
it's-
brings up a really good point, and you may not know this either. Can you set it up for time of use? So in other words, at 2 o'clock in the morning, do we wanna have somebody in the parking lot?
Right, coming home from some, yeah.
I do not know that answer.
I would say most people who own them charge them in their homes overnight.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
go about 300 miles.
Mhm.
So for your regular community driving, you're not gonna
Yes.
charge at
Right.
the library.
Right.
Quite honestly, I think it's gonna be people who are from out, like, check, it tells you in the car where the next charging
Right.
station is before they're headed to Chicago or something.
Right.
Will stop and charge in these stations. It's not that the community won't use them, but, you know, you literally go in your garage and plug your car in
Right.
at night,
Right.
and then you've got 300 miles the
It's
next
like
day.
charging your phone. It's just another routine you go through.
From outside the community likely hear charging.
And to
But
be
it gets
honest-
them to the community, they might have lunch in the community, they might stop in the library, I mean, it's
Right.
good for the community to have that available, I would think, so people come to the community. And people who have e-cars, at least right now, and people who have e-cars, at least right now, I don't think are people who are going to rob anybody. These cars are not cheap. I mean, they're expensive cars. If you can afford to buy one, I don't
Well,
think you're gonna
I'm just thinking from a
vandalize
liability
them.
standpoint, you know, they come in here, use a charging station. Liability standpoint, you know, they come in here, use a charging station, it's dark, something happens.
That's what the Walmart card wants for.
Yeah, I would go to this place before I go to Walmart.
Well, and I just think that it's would be good for us, as the library to have one here as
So-
a, you
So
know.
another question, so assuming, you know, whether this didn't cost you anything, or perhaps may cost you $2,000,
Right.
you know, initially, how many plugins would you want? Would you want 2 or 4? And you mentioned before the meeting, might be old technology, there might be better charging, I don't know.
So are you saying that in addition to maybe having a charging station or a double one here, you would also have some for vehicles for the city?
The mayor requested that I look at the police station, city hall.
And one mother, okay.
What about DPW?
It was suggested also in our parks, people may say go to Kayla's and stop there
Right,
for
right.
a while, but I was directed to look at those 3 locations. So, DPW, I don't know that I want outsiders.
No, but from a fleet
Right.
standpoint.
No, for the city's use, I guess.
But we don't have any fleet vehicles that charges.
That's how you start looking at that.
Well, I
That's-
mean,
that's
that
another
would make sense, that if you're going to then do something like that, that the next step would be that the city looks at replacing its gas guzzling, whatever. I mean, if they can make an electric Ford F-150, they can definitely, whatever. I mean, if they can make an electric Ford F-150, they can definitely make an electric cop car.
So, so the other part, we are looking at that also. The fleet chargers are less expensive than the public chargers, because you don't need the credit card gadget.
Sure, sure.
Oh,
So
it's the extra stuff.
It's an inter-
they're actually gadget.
Sure, sure.
Oh,
So
so it's the extra stuff.
It's an inter-
they're actually less expensive and they charge faster for
Sure.
a fleet
Okay,
based.
so that might be a separate project.
It's another, yeah.
Got it,
I
okay.
do think the police cars are probably, in my opinion, next in line, because these cars are fast, really
Right,
fast.
The
right.
acceleration part, which
Yes.
is where, yep.
Right. Community location for a charger is important. People aren't gonna pull into DPW from Illinois to charge their vehicle, or they're on their way to Door County,
So
but
somebody
they might
needs to-
come to Franklin Library.
My concern was somebody, I'm gonna be here a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't want them wandering the DPW yard.
Right, for sure, yeah.
That the city might have available, was there a number?
In my mind, I was thinking 8 to 10, so that's a $100,000 project, and we still have to talk with finance and
Mhm.
how do we afford $20,000 because it's not budgeted.
Oh, right. Did we have a budget amount?
It's like I said, I was.
You were thinking
not
we would be
looking.
doing it. So his question as to how many would we want here, if we already kind of
So you could put
have budgeted that amount,
which would be 6 spaces.
6, yeah, I don't know that we'd want that amount, but that at least we have,
And this is not something that's gonna be put in tomorrow. I mean,
Right,
it's 4 days
right.
to get in touch with the company. This is probably something if we plan now in our budget for 2023.
No, sir. I don't remember the date, but the deadline, because we have to have the money appropriated by October.
mm,
And I want to say the deadline is,
Okay.
I have to quickly turn this around and have the logistical details and how we're going to bid this
Is that
out.
because how the money flows?
Yes, they're trying to get this money out as quick as possible.
Sure,
So
sure.
for this year, I have to
Okay.
be quick.
So, you're just coming to us for just an approval, not for necessarily a,
Would you
He's not
tell
taking
common
orders.
council, are you supportive of?
support, not a motion, correct?
What
Correct.
about if
Motion
it's just,
support.
the library board recommends.
Right.
Like further research and data and support.
Right.
Like further research and data and support of the possible use of stations at the library.
I'll either be back next month or maybe provide Jennifer
Sure.
kind of a
Or you
memo.
could just say we support the concept of.
And you'd like maybe more than one, like a couple units, so
Yes.
4
Sure,
spots? Okay. Like a couple units, so
Yes.
4
sure.
spots? Okay.
So there you go, Judy, maybe,
Or we say just that we.
we support and recommend
Why don't
that
you
they
just say support the concept
of putting up to 4 charging stations at the library. 2
Installing.
stations, yeah, I guess,
Installing up
2
to
4
stations, 4
stations.
outlets, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
That's it.
In
Nobody,
library
say nobody
parking
else,
lot.
if nobody else wanted them, I'd say, let's take them all.
I know,
See what
right? Yeah,
happens.
well, we don't want our lot full of fleet vehicles, cause there are not any chargers over there, so.
Fleet drivers, they're driving, I don't know.
Cops
So
at the library.
if this moves forward, there'd be some planning around when they'd be installed, cause I imagine that's a little bit of a major deal to get the
So and this
electric
is
to-
part of the moving piece I'm still trying to track down. So the company has installers trying to figure out, can they give me 2 installers that I can bid against the,
Gotcha, sure, sure.
aren't there like 3 or 4 of them doing this in Wisconsin right now?
I would assume so, yeah.
If it's anything like solar, it's probably a budget one.
Right,
There is, I wish I could remember the name, but
right.
there is, I wish I could remember the name, but one of the larger ones.
I just think from a timing perspective, the library may prefer not to have it done at a particular time of the year and prefer another time. I don't know, I can't really think other time. I don't know, I can't really think of it. And you have some events out here that require.
Right, like
Like
during the
the-
summer, when the
yeah.
the parking lot's closed off for a
National Night
kids
Out, for
program, or,
example, we
right?
wouldn't want everything torn up, so.
I have to, in location, I don't know where your electric fleet is, or
Right,
all
right.
those kinds of details to work out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
later on, you can figure that out.
But for this evening,
This
you have our
evening,
support.
If you
So-
are interested in having your support, then yes,
Yes.
I can continue.
And when did we have that budgeted for? So our budget,
It was like 2 years out, like
2 years out.
2024, 2025, yeah.
so if they're gonna be, wanting to do this sooner rather than later, we will,
It's a,
we can do
yeah,
it.
it's a,
Anything's negotiable.
Well, and we don't wanna not do it for that reason.
And it's a small amount of money.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
issues here that require a bigger chunk, so
mhm.
it would fit in.
Anything else you wanna tell us?
So are you leaving happy, Glenn?
Sure, I'm very happy.
If you came with us to do a job and you did the job, then that's what we
Yeah.
do.
I will continue doing investigative work, and I'll try to get.
And
Jennifer
communicate with
to help us
Jennifer.
out, so.
Perfect,
Super.
thanks.
Right.
Is there anything else we can do to help you?
Perfect,
Super.
thanks.
Right.
Is there anything else we can do to help you?
I don't think so.
Oh.
We have a
I'm
bunch
just-
of research library heads here and take
Right.
advantage of all their knowledge and ability to research.
Volunteering.
Well, if there's anything else you need from us, yeah, let us know, okay? Yeah,
I'll
thank you very
volunteer,
much.
Sam.
Yeah, let us know, okay? Yeah,
I'll
thank you very
volunteer,
much.
Sam.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right, our next item on the agenda is actually a motion to accept and to spend the grant from the United Way in the amount of $5,000. $5,000, up to $5,000. I believe because of the amount, we need to motion to accept it. Correct, Jennifer? Is that what we've been told?
Is
Okay.
it restricted in any way? Or what
Well,
it's to be
that
used for?
would be the next, well, that's a better question to ask now. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Usually when you put in a grant for something,
Yes.
it's to do something,
Yes.
so you gotta do the thing.
So this is a no strings attached, this grant was given to us with no strings attached, but we still have to accept and, make the motion to accept and spend the monies. And then to budget to add that to the grant line. And then next month I'll come back to you with a plan for how to spend it. Cause I'm just not quite there yet. Got ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
Yeah.
acceptance of the grant for a particular purpose was not as you asked, not
Okay.
a stipulation. So,
Make a motion, we accept the grant.
I'll second.
okay, that was Annie and Mike. Any other questions about that? All in favor?
Hi.
Anybody opposed? Okay, and then moving on, Jennifer, moving on, Jennifer, we do need a motion to amend the budget.
I make a motion, we amend the budget.
Excellent, and I believe the wording is right there,
Yeah, blah,
Judy.
blah, blah,
I see
blah,
that.
blah.
And I will second it. Any other questions, comments? And I will second it. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
So it
Aye.
says
I
roll
think-
call
Roll
vote on
call
the
vote.
agenda.
Oh, sorry, I
Amendment.
apologize, I see that too. Okay, this will be the roll call vote to amend the budget. I gotta get out my roll, okay. I am in favor, Judy Williams-Kalaki,
Aye.
Judy Miller,
Aye.
Ravian Bajios,
Aye.
Terry Barris,
Aye.
Anne Maria Klubgia,
Aye.
Mike Karlovic,
Aye.
Kristen Wilhelm.
Aye.
Ellen is absent. Okay, passes, motion carries. Our bylaws review. I am going to set my timer for a 15-minute conversation as we had last month. And we are starting on number 3. But before we do that, I want to back up just a little bit. And last month we discussed the attendance policy, meeting attendance, which is right on the very first page under Article 2, membership, Section 3, meeting attendance. 5, correct? Other libraries.
That's who I heard back.
That's who she heard back. She heard back from 5 other libraries, and all 5 libraries followed their city's attendance policy for their library. We discussed last month, and Judy Miller brought us the school board's attendance policy, which was fabulous. But all other libraries are following their city's library attendance policy. So I think the precedents and we should probably do the same. Okay? Any comments about that?
So does that mean someone cannot attend virtually or by phone?
Do you have the city's
didn't-
attendance policy, Franklin's?
Well, that,
Have the city's
didn't-
attendance policy, Franklin's?
well, it's all in person.
It's all in person.
So someone can't participate by phone in the meeting?
No. I'm,
Well,
Isn't that the
board
communication
can
from the
set
mayor?
The board can
Right.
set its own policy, but if that's the way, you know, the board can
Right.
set its own policy, but if that's the way, you know.
Just curious.
I guess I have different opinions about this. I think it's important as a board that gets money are important. However, I do think that we have shown that other things are possible. I think going forward, coming out of the pandemic, we have shown that other things are possible other than in-person attendance. Last month we discussed maybe having a separate committee meet about these kinds of things, so maybe tonight is not the time to hash this out, but maybe we need to think about this in terms of allowing people to call in and participate without voting, or do we need to do that if the recording is available and we could just be listening to it afterwards? So I do think there are things that we could discuss around this issue. So,
Yeah, look, I don't think just because every other city does it one way, we need to do it that way.
okay,
And
Yep.
I don't think just because every other city does it one way, we need to do it that way.
okay,
And
Yep.
my personal opinion is I think that having a rule which says you have to be in person is too rigid. It's not gonna give us flexibility if 5 people end up being sick with COVID on the board and we need to get invoices
right,
approved. So at least that's my personal opinion, is
right,
approved. So at least that's my personal opinion.
Or if you need a quorum for other points, so, or that you don't wanna delay, like approving a budget or something like that.
right,
So, yeah, so I mean, I just,
Yeah,
that's my
personally,
personal
for
opinion.
me, just getting over COVID, coming in here, actually risks my health more.
right,
Because now I'm putting myself, you know, pushing myself beyond what I need to just so I can come here.
right.
You know, when I can do the same thing at home and keep everybody safer, so. you
So
know.
the other libraries that you surveyed, do they have, 5 or 10-year-old policies? Is that what they were, or did they tell?
We follow the
this is what they
city and,
follow? Okay.
I know.
We excuse people from a meeting on their reason.
Correct,
Please excuse me, I have this going on, right, so you don't show up. I think we can excuse somebody's in-person attendance if they can attend the meeting, but just are in a situation where my leg,
right.
but I'd love to be at the meeting.
Mhm.
You could have, at the discretion of the board president, a trustee may be allowed to participate in the meeting by phone if you don't want to do virtual, because sometimes that's hard, but
Right.
remotely.
Right.
Okay, I got 4 people wanting to do this, that's too many. I got 1 person, that's fine.
Right,
We got issues that are like not that something that would work well with someone being remote? So no, like you kind of leave it at the discretion of the board
I
president.
like that.
But then you can decide then, yeah, you know, not remote for this meeting, then you can participate and vote. That gives you flexibility versus
Right.
one way or another. It's hard to.
What's the school board do?
Well, I don't think
And we
she,
did before COVID, like you could call in and be part of, you can't be in a closed, yeah, you can't be in a closed session, but you could be in this meeting and the phone thing would be there.
so Judy, so Radiant, last month, Judy passed this out at our meeting, and this is the school, is this on your website somewhere, or, okay, so they have a virtual attendance at board meetings, if you're curious. Okay, so they have a virtual attendance at board meetings, if you're curious to look at it. Are they allowed to vote, though, virtually or over the phone? Okay,
Do we want a parking lot, the wording on that?
okay.
Do we want a parking lot, the wording on that?
See, that's what I'm wondering, if we wanna hash this out tonight, or do we wanna move on and have a group of us just work on it?
I'd be willing to work with Jennifer on some draft language for the next meeting, based on what
I-
the school board does.
I would be
Great idea.
happy with that. Okay. All right, so you guys will set up something? Perfect. Alrighty, and will you at that time then, Jennifer, have the city's policy just so that you can kind of, or if it's on,
Yeah,
if
I mean,
it's
I'll
online,
find the,
yeah.
yeah. I'll
And
find
Kristen,
the-
do you know when the city last updated that, other than the mayor saying was that actual policy written recently or amended, reapproved, or, you know?
Yeah, I did come, we officially had, he said it and then we officially had to approve it and it was.
Recently, since COVID, during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right,
Could I play a little differently if somebody comes to a city council meeting and, you know, there's some of the aldermen are phoning in as opposed to here? Hmm?
Not hash this out now.
No,
That's very nice.
just for background, I mean, is that in the picture for this, is that in the picture for this, that's?
There's the butters.
I'm
You
saying
know, if somebody
again.
comes in, if somebody comes in here and some of us, you know, we have people on the phone, that might be less of a big
Like a
big deal.
visitor or a,
Just, somebody who lives in the city, library patron, you know.
well, I would say if they're not on,
Somebody who lives in the city, library patron, you know.
well, I would say if they're not on the agenda.
No, what I mean is just that they may think it more odd
Nowhere.
that the city council would have, if the city council was doing more of this telephone stuff, as opposed to the library board, of this telephone stuff, as opposed to the library board. I don't need to mean that they need a study of it, but I just wonder if that's in the background of, you know,
People's minds,
yeah, you know, what they're expecting.
well,
Even if you haven't had dinner.
yeah, I'm not sure,
But that's,
so, okay.
I don't mean that
Keep
as
in mind.
as a
No,
point
no.
against having.
And I think that's probably why most libraries follow their cities, so
Okay.
it's like consistent across boards, and wouldn't you say?
Yeah, or,
Yeah.
you know, if the mayor is.
And maybe if you have your Poland meeting before our next meeting, you discuss it, those types of
Entire
meetings,
bag.
or
That'd be
not.
colorful.
I could raise it and saying, hey, let's, can I take a survey here? of
Sure.
this Sure,
Okay.
that gets me out of the way now, too.
Excellent. All right, then we're gonna move on in the 6 minutes that we have left to Article 3 of our bylaws. That's where we're at, Alan?
The red policy on that, or are you looking at, was that not?
We are still on the bylaws review, yes.
Yeah.
So, we're in Article 3 under officers. And the first thing I noted is that most of us are on our second term. Not that this is a change to our bylaws, but for all of us that are our second year of being an officer, it states right there, we can only succeed ourselves no more than twice, so. That's not a change.
It says may.
Huh?
May.
They may.
May.
And more than twice, so I guess that means,
May not succeed themselves no more than twice, but it's a may.
Right.
Not shall not.
right, that's true, yeah. All right, any other,
Wait a minute.
we are on Article 3, under officers, I'm just highlighted that.
Sorry, I have to go.
We are not on the policy yet, this is still the bylaws.
Mhm.
You have a question?
I don't think I got that.
You know, it was from last month, I'm not sure it was resent.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was resent.
Yeah.
It's from last month. I can
Yeah,
pull it up here. Thank you.
do you have?
Not with me, no, sorry.
Okay.
Usually I have a stack of everything in the ring binder, but no.
Yes, all right.
That's okay.
Did
Go ahead.
anybody else,
Or,
well,
that's okay.
did
Go ahead.
anybody else,
Or,
well-
forge ahead.
how many
Should've said
people
that.
don't have the bylaws?
I have it.
Okay, all right,
On my computer, but-
okay. Section 1 under officers, Article 3, comments, questions, changes?
Succession language, I mean, we put that in there last time to encourage succession,
Right,
but if we're not gonna be doing that, we need to take it out, so we need to make a decision. I mean, the whole point of it is so that we don't have, we have, you know,
Sure,
fresh people
yeah.
in the roles and
Yep.
active participation.
Right.
But if we don't think that's gonna happen, I would not keep,
And I'm gonna use mine as a treasurer. How many people are
Right.
qualified accountants?
I don't disagree with you, I'm just saying that my suggestion is we take it out, because I don't think it's gonna actually work in practice.
so you're saying if we take it out, it doesn't matter?
And there's no limitation.
Then there's no limitation? Because we're worried that somebody would get into a position and
Never leave?
never leave?
Yeah, that is.
That's obviously
The other
why.
option would be to say that, except for the treasurer role, but that's.
I don't
why
think we
creating
should.
Too many, that's where I
There's a
think.
vote every year, it could change.
That's
based on
true.
the
Yeah.
vote. So what difference does it?
Yeah.
If we, because she's just
Right, that's
spectacular.
why I think we should take it out.
Okay, well, so then we're saying that, after the first sentence, starting with the word an officer, we're just gonna take that in the final two sentences out of there? Or do we wanna keep the final sentence, Article 3, Section 1,
Okay.
I think we should just take out the last
two sentences.
You know, you were in that position at one point where you had to give up your presidency or something, right? Cause you've been there a long time? Or something, right? Cause you've been there a long time? Didn't that happen to you?
Yeah.
It was that, or I said I was looking for someone else to take the position.
I think you had done
I
it
think
2
it
years.
was-
Did he have to though, because as Alan pointed out, this says did he have to though, because as Alan pointed out, this says an officer may succeed himself no more than twice. So does may mean
Well,
it's,
now we're getting
Kind of
semantics.
Right,
I don't know,
right,
look,
yeah.
whatever happened with Mike happened with Mike, I'm
Right.
talking about the future, so.
Right,
I
right.
just was looking for his perspective, it's
Yeah.
like, I felt like.
Future, so.
Right,
I just
right.
was looking for his perspective, it's
Yeah.
like, I felt like I kinda got pushed out, or, you know,
Oh, no.
okay, alright.
No different than, I don't think there's
There was no
anybody,
coup.
yeah, it's just like, maybe I'd like to stay on the board.
right, that
Give
they
my-
can
give my
only,
name
right,
on to the mayor and the council.
Right,
And it's like,
okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks.
So sentences under Article 3, Section 1.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Section 2, that talks about the terms. You can't hold more than one office at a time. Questions, comments about that, and shall preside at all meetings.
Do you need any kind of disclaimer in number 2 that you, except when calling a meeting for a quorum issue or something? Cause sometimes you almost have to have that, you know, if you get here and there's no quorum and then you have to act as both secretary and the president or something to call it to order or something, I don't know if that's.
Oh, I
covered.
see. Well, that's not holding an office, though.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just temporary.
Temporarily doing,
All right.
okay.
Yep.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Not needing to add wording, okay. Anything about Section 3 about not needing to add wording, okay. Anything about Section 3 about the role of the president? Section 4, vice president. Secretary,
Well, I
section,
have
secretary,
well, I
section,
have a bone of contention here.
with which one? Section 4 or section? Okay.
Section 5.
Yes,
I mean, I'm not really issuing the notices of all regular and special meetings.
you know, I totally agree with that, and that comes also, it comes up in Article 4, Section 4, under special meetings. I think that's a whole can of worms we maybe need to look at. There's all kinds of language about the secretary being the one to call the special meetings, and not that it obviously they'd be called at the direction of the president. Yeah, I guess it just
Why don't you just say shall approve all notices of regular and special meetings? So
Well,
she
I'm
can
not even
still
getting
do
the
it.
notices, Jennifer's just doing all of it.
right.
Can't we just say that it shall be dated to the to the library director or something like that?
Well, yeah, you could probably put in there, instead of saying shall issue notice of a, or shall delegate.
Right, I mean, something about it being, I think we need to add something about it being delegated.
Or the other way is you just say shall issue instead of saying shall issue, she says shall approve, and then she just sends it, issue instead of saying shall issue, she says shall approve, and then she just sends it to you and you say, yeah, it's good.
Well, we could do that, but right now we're not doing any of that, which is my concern, because these could be all
But that-
not validly noticed meetings.
I'm just telling you, that's how it's
Yeah.
done on the on the quarry monitor, and the president and the staff member is acting as Jennifer.
Why don't you break it in two sentences?
Is acting as Jennifer.
Why don't you break it in two sentences? The first being the secretary with the assistance of the library director as necessary and appropriate shall keep a true and accurate record of all meetings of the board, period. The library director shall issue notice of all regular and special meetings and shall perform other, no, that doesn't work. Never mind.
No, I could just say, I think you can say period, like you said, and then say to the secretary,
Shall perform all other, no, you gotta say something about the notices.
yeah, well, I think you can say the secretary shall perform other duties as are generally associated with that office, period. And then you can say, the secretary shall delegate it to the library director with their
The
supervision or something
secretary
like
shall
that.
have the option to
Shall
delegate.
have the option to delegate,
Yeah.
but we need to do something.
Yeah, I
Because
think,
right now, as it's written, I'm concerned we might not have validly noticed.
I think you should say the secretary shall have the option to
Meetings.
delegate. To the library board director.
Why can't the library director just issue the notice?
She's
Never
actually
known.
Yeah, she's not an officer.
she's a staff member, actually, so,
Yeah.
so I think if you.
Well, what if we, because of course this is under officers, so what if we, I mean, is it that you're keeping record of the special meetings that were called by the library
Well, I'm
director?
not doing that, I'll tell you that.
Called by the library
Well, I'm
director?
not doing that, I'll tell you that. I probably shouldn't be saying that.
I-
No, I mean, like, look,
Yeah.
I look, if I know, like, for instance, personnel, because I'm on the personnel committee.
Right.
I email you a bunch of times, because I'm like, have we noticed it, right? Like, if I
Right.
haven't seen the notice, I will ask,
Right,
right?
right.
But I don't know about the other committee meetings, so it's hard for me to notice, I will ask,
Right,
right?
right.
But I don't know about the other committee meetings, so it's hard for me to even know, like, should I be asking?
Right,
I think the simplest thing is to just do like they do on the quarry monitor. I got a staff person, he sends it to me, he says, here's the agenda, here's the minutes, what do you think? And then before he sends them out to all the board, I just say, looks good. Or I say, add them out to all the board, I just say, looks good. Or I say, add this or correct this before it goes out or whatever. And then it's done. So if you two could just do that, I mean, it wouldn't, I mean, it takes what, one email, yeah, it looks good?
That's fine.
and is that the job of the secretary though, or is it the job
Because
of
it's
the
I
president
think what Maria would say is for the,
with her? So why would we have to
yeah.
Well,
have
I
the
guess in
secretary?
this case, they're making the secretary keep track of all the
Right,
minutes, so that's why they're giving the job to the secretary.
For ease of time limits here,
right, cause,
I think we need, I would suggest that we need to have somebody take a look at that, in particular, whether or not under doing that, or could it be the president? 'Cause I would say that Maria knows more about what meetings are occurring in
Right.
terms of the overall library board and the personnel and whatever finance.
It does
and
make more sense that, yeah.
Yeah, so if my suggestion would be, if under the statute, we can have the president do it, there's no requirement arbitrary, that the president be the one doing that, because Maria's meeting, at least I did Maria when I was president, I would meet with Jennifer you know,
Right.
board meetings to talk about what we're gonna talk about, so.
But
That was.
when we were scheduling special meetings to interview candidates for the director position, didn't require anything from the president. We did the position, didn't require anything from the president. We did, the personnel committee did that on their own.
Well, technically the secretary is supposed to be.
Well, then, was the secretary involved in those?
Well,
Like,
technically, the secretary is supposed to do all sorts of stuff, Judy.
I've been the secretary for 2 years, so.
Just based on what
Yeah,
we're
I
reading
know.
is what I'm saying.
I
I'm
know,
not
I.
saying.
Secretary for 2 years, so.
Just based on what
Yeah,
we're
I
reading
know.
is what I'm saying. I'm
I
not
know,
saying
I
you
don't
did
know
it
what they
wrong
were
for
doing,
this.
no, I don't know what they were doing in what we were doing in those. I know we noticed them all,
sure,
but based upon.
but
I
was the
think-
secretary involved in all of that? That's
I
where,
don't
yeah.
think we've never
Yeah.
had it that way, that's my understanding.
All right, well,
And
here's,
then the whole secretary.
Exactly.
okay, so here's what I'm gonna say, since we're past our 15 minutes of looking at the bylaws, which is the time limit we kind of set for these, and I wanna respect your time. We will start with section 5 of Article 3 next month. So if you don't have your bylaws with you, you know, since,
Or just send out this one section we're gonna.
Sure,
figure we're
sure.
gonna get through.
And in the meantime, you know, Jennifer and I can pull up those statutes and kind of do a little research on this and see what it says. Try to have better clarification on that according to the statutes. Is that, all right. Happy to do it for you. All right, because we are going to move on now to our policy review, which this month is the meeting policy, and we last approved this and updated it, revised it. It was the wording, we approved it May 20th of 2019. So, so it's fairly recent, and I think at that time, we looked at the charges for the rooms and things like that, and I know we've talked about that since then. There was an incident, the addition of the red letters on this page, that our Phaedra room was reserved for a town hall meet and greet type of situation, probably 5 or 6 months ago. And by the time the event occurred, it kind of turned into a campaign kind of a thing.
Who even known that?
Pardon?
Yeah.
It's a-
Yeah, I mean, that was really disingenuous, I'm sorry,
know.
but
Yeah.
that should not have happened.
So, we are adding language to make sure that doesn't occur again and that situation was dealt with. Doesn't occur again and that situation was dealt with. And so that's why the additional language was added, that campaign events, are not permitted, and the 45 days prior to an election, elected officials can't use the meeting prior to an election. Elected officials can't use the meeting rooms at all.
I'd like to add to that.
Okay, good. We
Well,
were,
I'd like to change campaign events to election-related events.
okay,
This should be really broad. In my mind, nobody should be using the library in a certain time period of an election candidate.
right, and that's why that second part, yeah,
Yeah, so it
That-
needs to
that
just
sentence.
say, elected officials, I don't know.
It should be elected officials. No, it should be,
Yeah.
so it should be, I would say any election-related events in office, not just elected officials.
Right.
Yeah,
Because we don't want like Marcelino Rivera using the thing. and
Right.
Mike Barber using the thing.
right,
And maybe I should give background. Mike Barber used it. I was really mad. He's my representative. Showed up on our Facebook community forum in the Phaedra room with actual
Campaign signs.
campaign signs, campaign materials, which is not what should be happening.
No.
because
So-
that was the
and
title of
his
the
excuse
post.
was that this was set up as a town hall event conveniently for 10 days before the election. So we can't have that happening. We need to really, I think,
Right,
we need to be clean and just be like, nobody is using it within a
Yep.
certain period of time, because it's clearly going to devolve into that. Nobody is using it within a
Yep.
certain period of time, because it's clearly going to devolve into that.
right. So changing the wording to election-related events under not permitted, but then that other sentence under the bullet points in red that says elected officials who wish to use the meeting rooms, what wording would you, that says elected officials who wish to use the meeting rooms, what wording would you suggest for that? Because you're saying
Anybody
not
who's
just
seeking office,
elected
yeah, it should be
officials.
Anybody who's seeking office,
Any candidate,
yeah,
Or,
elected
Or
officials or
agent.
candidates.
Right.
I mean,
or candidates, elected officials or candidates.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's the second part mean? Like, what were you thinking of examples, is with the exception of independently hosted candidate forums? So what was that?
Well, Paul Ryan holds town halls here because his office is in Janesville, but he represents this whole area, so he'll hold a town hall here. You know what I mean? So,
I get what you're saying.
okay, so
Yeah.
that would be acceptable. He needs a place so that people in this area can meet with him.
He's been doing it at the police
But
station.
he's not
Okay.
campaigning.
Well,
No,
this,
no, right.
This too was like if they, you know, the South Suburban Chamber wanted to host a candidate forum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board members.
Sure.
Yes,
And
yes.
they
Mhm.
all answer the same question.
Right.
Maybe independently hosted isn't the right wording, if you wanna give me some different wording.
No, I thought that was.
I just wanted an example.
Yeah.
That's all.
I also thought you should add something about campaign signage now.
Oh,
Is
that's,
that in the
Today.
display?
is that in our display policy?
Doesn't belong in this policy, it belongs in different.
Yeah, we might have, when we review that one,
This is about the rooms.
yeah,
yeah.
but yes. So,
Okay, let me reread this.
Yeah.
Permitted, the fourth bullet point will say, election-related events, with the exception of independently hosted candidate forums. Correct? Good? Okay. The sentence under it will say, elected officials or candidates? Is that the wording that we want?
Yes, because you don't want
Right.
someone who's not on the ballot coming in and promoting someone either during that time.
well, wait, how is that covered?
That's what I was just gonna
That's
say,
an
that,
elected
We need to
official.
cover that.
That would be an elected
Elected
official
official
who's
or
not a
candidates.
candidate.
but what if,
That would be an elected
Elected
official
official
who's
or
not a
candidates.
candidate.
but what if Annie wants to campaign for her representative and wants to,
Yeah, what if I decide I
But
wanna
when
hold
we
a
say
rally
elected-
here for
yeah.
my,
but that's a
that would
strictly
fall under the
social
bullet-
nature.
The one you're talking about falls under the bullet point of no election-related events. Falls under the bullet point of no election-related events.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could say elected officials, their candidates or individuals on their behalf or campaigning
Yeah.
on their behalf.
Yeah.
So we are saying as long as it's farther out than 45 days, have at it.
well, it's for
No.
town hall events.
Yeah, you can't use minimum for town hall events within 45
But-
days.
Define a town hall event.
I mean, I think that was the problem. That's how they,
What a town hall event is, I may have another idea what a town hall event is and say, well, I thought it was this.
I could campaign
You
for
know, so you
someone at
don't
my
want it to
town
be
hall event.
ambiguous.
Or we could add a sentence saying, town hall events shall include campaigning. I don't wanna get it too much into the weeds, that's the
No,
problem.
because you're not supposed to do, you're not even, and have even someone sign a nomination paper in the building.
Mhm.
So it's all government, you cannot use a government resource for your campaign, period.
So then the days
During
don't
your
matter
campaign
then,
time.
right? Like,
Well,
'cause they
they
can't do it
So
all.
do we need that other wording at all?
Like, they,
Other wording at all?
like, they
If
can't
now
do
we
it all.
talk about election-related events, does that cover?
But do they consider this a government building? I mean, wouldn't
Yeah.
people,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
they do, but yeah,
Yes,
I mean, is that,
absolutely.
wouldn't
Yeah.
people,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
they do, but yeah,
Yes,
I mean, is that,
absolutely.
yeah. I still say leave it in. It's never, or would you say take it out?
No, I think you should, I don't think they should do anything closer than 45. Like, there are so many political things that happen to the 45. Like, there are so many political things that happen. For example, the State of the City was a very political event. I mean, there were
Right.
all the aldermen, I mean, it was, and so would you wanna have something like that here? Because they were all,
Okay.
yeah.
what if we,
So
what
that's
if
why
we,
you should have a policy that 45 days.
right, but I agree with you, but I think I don't think we even need to say town hall events, can't we just say elected officials, candidates, and others acting on their behalf may not schedule any meeting rooms,
Yeah,
say
school.
you can't come in here within 45 days.
Can't schedule or hold.
Yeah,
Because scheduling is one thing, holding is another.
yeah.
Elected officials or candidates or people
Elected
acting on their
officials.
behalf
Yeah, elected officials, candidates, or others acting on their behalf
who,
may not schedule.
may not build events closer than 45 days prior to the election.
So I'm getting rid of who wish to use the meeting rooms for
Who
town hall
wish
events.
to use them.
So you were the town hall
Right.
thing that you were concerned about, Mike?
May not schedule, and then take out these types of.
So they can still hold these things,
And then take out these types of,
so they can still hold these things before 45 days.
like a town
Mhm.
hall, you know?
Okay.
And we-
Some
like
politicians use us for office
An
hours.
office.
There's 45 days enough because you can pull papers, you pull papers in December, you turn your nominations in, you pull papers in December, you turn your nominations in, I don't know, so.
60?
That's what I was thinking,
I was-
60.
I was bouncing between 30 and 60, and then I thought 30 is too little. 60 is a lot, so I
How
meant
many is it
half
from?
and half.
How many days
When
is
do
it
they
from
have to have
January?
their-
Person did take an average, right?
January, February, at least three.
69
There's
days.
there's 3 solid months, January, February, March. before the
90,
election.
90 days?
No, well, 3 times.
People don't
three.
have that long of a memory, I think
I
60
don't
is
think they
pretty
should be
good.
doing it between January and April.
Yeah,
Or, yeah,
that would be 90
Or-
days.
Yeah,
90 days. And then,
Or when the
Sure.
room was booked, because we just weren't thinking
so
election yet.
when do these other candidates tend to do it? Or not candidates, these officials, like, who other
Oh,
than?
well, I mean, Paul Ryan used to use it like once a month for office, his staff
Yeah.
would come and do office
Right,
hours here.
They
okay.
don't typically do it.
I was gonna say,
No.
no. he-
Somebody said he used the PD.
If I'm having an alderman event, I usually have it over there because it's a community room. They don't need to use the library at all.
Right.
Unless it's booked and full.
Right, right,
There shouldn't be any need for
right,
an alderman.
yeah,
There may be, a time when you have to have a last minute, there may be, a time when you have to have a last minute, and maybe City Hall's booked and you have to have it over here, but I don't even see any reason at all they need to be over there.
I would just point everyone's attention to the very last page, last sentence of this policy that says the library director reserves the decision-making of this policy that says the library director reserves the decision-making authority for the use of all spaces or the meeting.
Right.
So it's the catch-all that
Sure.
you just say no.
Well, yeah, I guess it, unfortunately, that didn't make it on my radar, which was my fault. I should review the meeting room calendar. I was on vacation actually when it happened.
Well, that happens, you know, but it won't
Yeah,
happen
it-
again.
and I think there's been some
They all
staff
know.
retraining,
They all
staff, yeah.
Awareness,
Oh,
just
yeah, right.
making sure that we are aware of,
All right, let's get this
Yeah.
wording down. Judy, can
Well,
you
yeah, I think we
read
should
what
do-
you?
have some notes, I think Jennifer should make the revisions, and we should come back to it.
Right, but can you read what you have?
What I have down for that one sentence is elected officials, candidates, or others acting on their behalf may not schedule any events in the library within 90 days of an election.
And the other one is, okay. All right. And yes, I agree.
so you want me to make the revision, bring it back next month?
I think so, just so we can see it and see
Okay.
how it looks.
Sure.
Okay.
And we're not having another election in 30 days, are we?
No.
All right, so were there any, other than those changes that were made, were there any other, policy that anyone, had any questions or comments or wanted to make revisions to?
Are all the meeting rooms and the prices accurate? Right, so we're talking about available rooms and things like that, that's our old side of the
Yeah, this was, just came up.
All right, I don't think we have to have a motion on that. So Jennifer will bring that back to us next month. for approval. Right, so perfect timing. It is now time for our finance committee report.
Okay. Vouchers. Fund 15, everything looked in order. So I'm looking for a motion, thing looked in order. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the $12,936.38 worth of invoices for approval.
I so move.
Annie,
I second it.
Ravian,
Are there any further discussion?
I second it.
Ravian,
Are there any further discussion on any of the issues or items here?
right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
For Fund 16, again, everything looked in order, nothing out of line or even very large. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the $2,810.48 of invoices for, to be approved.
I so move.
Annie
Second.
and Ravian sec. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Okay, going through the financial statements themselves, we are at 24.66% of the budget through the end of March. 15 as 94% of the revenue as the monies for the property taxes was posted. And our expenditures are only 23.07%. So we're running better than projected. There are only a couple items I will whine and complain about. Electricity, again, it's 12.14% of our budget. For the current period, we had, electricity is 5552. We had, electricity is 5552. We had $4,387, and the year-to-date was $7,645. So it just doesn't look right. But doesn't look right. But we're used to that with electricity because
There's a delay. I think
Their
this is
billing
only,
is-
this is only counting through February. I just approved
Yeah.
the March, not
Yeah.
like last week. So,
But are they recording on in which the electrical bill is being billed for? And it looks like they're doing it kind of on both. You know, they catch up at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we never really know where we're at because we're really not on budget because not
Yeah.
everything is posted. Same thing, same whine with natural gas except in the opposite direction. Natural gas is account 5554, and we had 2,347 for the month, but 8,632 for the year, 45% of the budget.
Doesn't it turn in summer and gas is higher in winter? So
summer should be low,
Yeah.
much lower
for gas.
for gas.
But our gas doesn't go
Our
down
gas
that
is low.
significantly.
Our gas is low right now though, right?
No, our electric is low.
Our electric
Our
is low, our
gas is
gas is
high.
high, but we've seen in the summer that they still have gas because it's so cold that the heater
Yeah,
kicks in.
he's right.
Is there two separate bills though? Why can't we energy's bill, gas and electricity are all the same?
No, I approve electricity and I approve gas.
So you approve it
But
separately on
Yeah.
that?
it might be on one,
Okay.
It might be on one for them, but they break it down and,
right,
yeah.
because you number, but we don't do it that way.
Although it does go down significantly in the summertime, but yes, there's always natural
Yes.
gas because of our weird
And you
system.
don't know what the weather's gonna be like, and you have to pay the bill anyway, and you have to heat and light the building, so.
Because May first, you're gonna be
Yeah.
heating the building.
I'm just whining.
Well, you did advertise,
Yeah, you did.
There was a disclaimer.
You prepared us.
Yeah.
And there's
And then the-
nothing like the residential budget plan for this, is that
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third item was severance payments.
Yes.
Which I asked the question of who to get rid of, and it's not a getting rid of thing. I had it explained to me, question of who to get rid of, and it's not a getting rid of thing. I had it explained to me that when a person retires, they have accumulated time that they haven't taken, and when that's paid out, it is recorded
It's
as severance.
severance.
There's a formula that they use.
So it's not like this, so they're paying out their vacation time or something, but it's severance. So it's not like this, so they're paying out their vacation time or something, but it's severance or just
Yeah, it's only the
something?
benefited employees, and they
Okay.
call it a severance payment,
There we go.
Do
even
we
though
know
it's
this
a
person was
retirement.
retiring?
Like 2 weeks before they retired.
Oh, so we didn't, it was not in the budget that we.
No.
You know, neither person that's retiring this year did I know before,
So it's just.
before February.
Yay.
Well, at least it explains it.
Who
But
else
we
is
are, I
retiring?
mean,
Now we're under budget.
Our severance is way over budget.
One of the Cathys is retiring. And who else?
Karen Grahusky retired
Oh,
at
that's
the
right,
end of
Karen.
February.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Their money, right?
Okay.
We'll give
I
them
just
that.
wanna say, I do send out an email when I'm planning the budget in June, saying, you're under no obligation to tell me,
Oh.
but are there gonna, but are you
Sure.
aware that, you know, there
Are
may be
you
changes in your
planning on-
situation, like dropping health insurance, adding health insurance,
Yeah.
relocating.
Yeah.
And Terry always laughs at me for it, but, cause nobody ever really responds.
Right, right.
But I still do it.
Sure. So you try.
I try.
Okay. Well, thank you for trying.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
So then I guess I'm insane.
All righty.
We all belong to that club, something. Okay, Fund 16, the revenue is coming in at 25.67% above coming in at 25.67% above the 24.66, and expenditures are at 14.67% below. And the only one that's kind of off and seems to be quite regular is office supplies, which is 3,342 or 1.13% of the budget.
It's actually programming. We use that for programming supplies, so, yeah.
Now, so that's just gonna always be off because we never know what the program supplies are gonna be and we won't
Well,
ever
some of
budget
it is,
correctly.
some of it is because, you know, we hope that there's gonna be,
Recorded off as an offset here, it's why our revenues are over.
cause I don't budget for it, but we just hope for
But
it.
typically, if you get monies, it goes
We get-
into this,
It covers that.
covers
It
this. I
covers
mean,
that.
yes, but we can't show that exactly.
Yeah.
We just show overage in revenue and,
That the city, as long as we don't spend more than we take in Fund 16.
But we do budget $7,500 in donation revenue, so we must figure there's gonna be a certain amount of money that's
Right.
gonna
Sure.
come in on a regular basis.
sure, sure. Alrighty.
Okay, that's all I had for going over Fund 15 and 16. Then we get into the next spreadsheet, which is a breakdown of all the detail of the revenues coming in, on Fund 16. And this month, every single number was perfect.
Whoa, how'd that happen?
I worked really hard on
Go
it.
buy a lottery ticket.
She's the one who got it done, she's gonna buy the ticket.
How-
She's the one who got it done, she's gonna buy the ticket.
How did you get that done?
Well, it's a long story, but let's just say I agonized for a day over it. Met with Tom Bakalarski so on Friday I agonized over it. On Monday I met with Tom Bakalarski, and it was already fixed. Because if I had just waited one day, it all would have been. Because it did. The information they get, the information we're giving them.
Right.
So it should match up.
They're just so far behind in posting.
Posting is the issue. Yeah.
Good. Good job, Jennifer.
Okay, then the credit card summary, every number has been running, so, I mean, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And that concludes my report.
All right. Any other questions for Alan? All righty.
Postage was a little high because I had to buy 100 stamps.
Yeah.
We do that about once a year.
Sure, right, yeah. Sure, right, yeah. Alrighty, we are down at agenda item number 7, update on the Franklin Public Schools. Judy?
Oh, not much. The librarian just told me that they have a new search interface from Follett that's designed really designed really well for young children. And
Oh, sure.
they're able to find resources far more easy, so they're just training their staff on that. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's pretty important. You know, our kids get frustrated when they're looking for resources.
Because they're not using the right terms and all that. Very good.
Get frustrated when they're looking for resources.
Because they're not using the right terms and all that. Very good. Well, good. Thank you. All right. And for myself, I do know that at last month's Common Council meeting, Doris, I don't even know her last name, but
Weber.
To be the newest member of the library board, replacing Ravian. Judy, I hadn't heard from you. Can I ask you in public what your intentions are? You still don't know? Perfect.
What's my deadline?
Well, I think they want somebody to be approved by July,
I'll let you know by the end of
which
this
would
month.
be the
Yeah, I'll let you know
June.
by the next week.
Yeah, that's May 3rd. This is in Jennifer's report, but I'm just gonna say, on May 3rd, the Common Council is meeting. It's a Tuesday. You guys meet on Tuesdays?
We're also meeting on Monday, committee of the whole.
Well, specifically on Tuesday, May 3rd,
Is that May 3rd, really?
May
Wow.
3rd, Dennis to the Common Council regarding the library's 20th anniversary. And because of, you know, the pandemic and things, they just didn't do a big thing for our 20th. So he is going to make a presentation. So if anybody wants to be at that specific meeting, because that's when he will be there, that's when he will be doing that presentation. So if you're available, that would be great to support him on that.
What time does that meeting start?
6:30.
Thank you. I didn't have that information, but I guessed that. Okay. All right. So Jennifer, we'll move on to your report.
For April, I realized after I did this and sent it out that I actually, last week I spoke to the Lioness Club, did a 15-minute presentation. I crammed a lot into 15 minutes. And it was good because they learned a lot of stuff. They didn't know. A lot of things that the library provides they didn't have any idea. So.
Was that by their invitation?
Yeah.
or-
Mhm. Although I'd always told them whenever if they wanted to speak, you know, if they were looking for a speaker, I would speak. So.
Nice.
No work anniversaries in April to report.
Nice.
No work anniversaries in April to report. Our 1 to 5 library clerk, Susan's moving to the morning clerk position, so the position that we will be posting for will be the afternoon clerk. Hoping to get that person in and trained. By the start of summer reading when it starts getting hectic. I told you I'd give an update about the library intern. She accepted the position Friday
Woo!
afternoon, so, after
Good.
I'd sent this out, so.
Excellent.
Yeah. They feel very, the AC unit in the server room has been fixed. I don't know if you guys noticed the landscaping when you come in
Yes.
around the monument sign. I emailed DPW on Monday saying, I think we should just take out everything, cause it was just a weed fest, because there was so much stuff around it. And I emailed them and said, you know, maybe you should just take everything out, put grass down, and cause that way you can mow right up to it. 3 days later, they were here,
Pulling
taking
everything.
out the old berm, I told them to put, when I saw what they were doing, I said, put 2 layers. The weeds are really bad. And then they put that nice decorative border around it and filled it in with rock within like 4 days of my email. So I think I caught them at a good time between winter and summer. I think it looks nice. I mean, it's nice. It's nice having colorful plants out there, but I don't think we can maintain colorful
Well,
plants out there.
that's where it needs to. My youngest lives in Sun Prairie, and I don't know if you've ever been to the Sun Prairie Library, but it's
Oh,
just absolutely,
it's
between the
stunning.
building and the way they have it landscaped around there, absolutely, between the
stunning.
building and the way they have it landscaped around there. I don't know what it'd almost be worth finding out, because it is just, it looks like it fits right into a native landscape.
I
It's
know.
so cool.
I
And
know.
we've got the property to do that, but it needs to be in the right spots,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
that it covers signs or get in the way of people
Yeah.
navigating, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I think it looks nice. And I told Maureen, we can always throw a container out, put a big, massive
Oh, sure.
container and plant flowers in there.
Sure.
Because those would be more contained and the weeds will jump anywhere. So I think that looks pretty nice. The materials lockers, I met with McFliss and Lemberg. So Lemberg's gonna work with McFliss to give us numbers on what it would cost to run the electric and the Ethernet out there. But they said, they came to our building, they're like, the server room is right pretty much 20 feet away from where these lockers will go, so. The Veterans Memorial, the Franklin Noon Lions, and that VFW post that's over here are going to take over maintenance duties. And computer chairs, I finally maintenance duties. And computer chairs, I finally did order 2 new computer chairs for the adult and children's computer areas that we can wipe down.
2 or 20?
20. Did I say 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant 20. And it's nice because we'll be able to wipe them down with alcohol or a bleach solution. So, Environmental Commission will be here handing out tree saplings to Franklin residents in the parking lot. They do this every year. It's not anything. It's always.
What do we do with the old furniture? What do we do with the old furniture?
Want it? I'm joking.
I'm just
I'm
asking,
joking.
what do we do with that?
Well, Carrie and I were talking about that. We probably would put them up for sale. I mean, when we went through, we got rid of several last year.
Yeah.
It's when it was last year.
Not just auction, they call it an auction site, but all kinds of stuff. You can buy an ambulance for a couple $100 from.
Well, the reason why I ask is because somebody's not gonna be against saying, well, it's just really a nice solid chair, I can just recover this thing. It'll be fine.
We won't toss them. They still were thrown out. So the ones that are left are viable. It's just their 20-year-old fabric, and yeah, I don't.
I know there was one that I was by a couple of weeks ago, and said, yeah, it's about time. To change these, I was kind of debating, do I sit on this thing? Do I sit on this thing?
Yeah, I usually just, when I'm helping people at the computers and they want to know if I want to sit down, I'm like, oh, that's okay. So when you feel that way, it is time to replace it.
That's how the council treats
You're in trouble when, those things they make for the grocery carts that the moms put in. You're in trouble when, those things they make for the grocery carts that the moms put in to cover all the surfaces that people are bringing them in for our computer chairs.
Those council
Biohazards,
chairs are like
too.
every dog hair, everybody's cat
I know.
hair. There's like 20 years worth of paper clip stuff down
Yeah.
there. Got 20 years worth of paper clip stuff down
Yeah.
there.
Then the health department gave us the green light to start up coffee sales, but we're gonna make a couple of changes. They thought it would be a good idea to keep them behind the desk so that the librarians are pumping the coffee and they don't have as many different hands touching. We've actually had quite a few people asking us when we're bringing them back. So,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good.
And going down to a 10-ounce cup because I didn't want to raise to $1.50 because I don't like dealing with 50-cent quarters. So a 10-ounce cup will be $1. It's still a steal. I actually just renewed those today. I'm going to ask the foundation for the additional 2 zoo passes to bring it up to 4.
Gotcha.
What were they a piece?
$1,000 for a membership, for the Platypus Circle membership, which gives us the transferable passes per year. Yeah. We already talked about Dennis. He's actually emailing people who are involved in the building process and who have been involved in the library through the years to come hear him speak. so. And I am gonna be handing out sugar cookies with our logo on it to 240 patrons who walked in the doors on May 5th.
That'd be
I
nice.
feel like we have to do something to celebrate our
Yeah.
20th anniversary.
Who's making the cookies?
Well, unless you have a good suggestion, I was just gonna contact Metcalf, in Tosa, cause they did the cookies for the Wauwatosa Library Foundation event.
Sure.
Cause they actually used the digital copy of the, I don't know how they do
Logo.
it. It's really neat on the cookies, so, they did a good job. Tasted good, so. And then at the May meeting, they weren't quite ready to talk yet about the 2022 summer reading program, but they'll be here. I think I put
Yeah.
I gave you
Yeah.
the
Just ask
flyer.
one question.
Yeah.
Birth to fifth grade? Birth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a big,
I was reading to my 1-month-old.
what was was it one of the governor's wife or a president's wife that was big in the birth to
Well,
the baby,
Laura
babies, the
Bush was a
books?
librarian.
Yeah, maybe
Laura
I'm
Bush was a
thinking about
librarian,
her.
so it could be her.
That did those books everywhere and at all the libraries and, yeah.
So
Um,
what program is for birth, though?
They've always had a
Well, I-
100.
Yeah, the 100 books, but it's more, I think what they wanna know, like the reading program itself is for birth to,
I don't know
So
that
it's
they
not
do
necessar-
well, they do like story times for,
they have the waddlers and walkers.
yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
But, that's pretty much 6-month
yeah.
and up.
They've,
Pretty much 6-month
yeah.
and up.
They've always here done 100 books in a year.
100 books before kindergarten, no, 1,000 books before kindergarten.
Something like
Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
In the
I
very
thought-
beginning, the program
I
you're
thought
thinking
it was
about
a-
was baby's first books.
Something like that, yeah.
Baby's first books.
Something like that, yeah.
They could come in.
So they
yeah.
were, yeah. They've always done literacy starting at birth here, yeah.
So does anybody have any questions? They can answer your questions next month.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so moving on to my
Survey said.
survey. Maria knows about this, but I did have a complaint about a month and a half ago about a couple of staff members. So I thought, we haven't done one of these, and I kind of thought it was a one-off outlier. So
Mhm.
I told Maureen, why not, just to see how we're doing.
What is the question that they're answering?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend the Franklin Public Library?
And the average score was 10.
Well, close to it,
Yeah, there was a 9 and an
Now,
11.
granted, not everybody may throw these we hand them out, but some people may just continue walking. If they're not happy, we do encourage them
And it's
to,
obviously for library users. They
Yes.
were slips of paper that were on that, I know, I filled mine out at that desk there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I filled mine out at that desk there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they were in multiple locations, but you had to be here to do it. It wasn't like the citywide
right,
survey.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you can see, a pretty high score. I just wish that the people who put like 5,
I
6
know.
score, I just wish that the people who put like 5,
I
6,
know.
7, even 8 would just say why.
Right,
You know,
right.
it doesn't really,
They were
I think
forced to be here by their parents.
well, that could be. That could be. So, I think they were pretty, I think we're gonna do it again in October.
Yeah.
You get it maybe different
Sure,
clientele,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And then at a glance, you can see all the yellow all the way across as we continue to improve from last year.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that the only category we didn't in holds filled, and I think part of that's because people aren't putting books on hold.
They're
just
to
coming
get
in
'em,
and
yeah,
getting them.
yeah.
So I think that's why that's down.
All right.
That's it.
Any questions for Jennifer?
The trash thing?
Oh, the
What
trash.
Did you make a decision? Oh.
No, I'm joking. Bob Tesh,
She
he did. Bob Tesh said he had some ideas for me, so I'm gonna hear what his ideas are. And
Run 'em by
then,
Andy.
I just wanna replace that garbage can out there with maybe a trash and recycling,
Oh, oh, yeah.
So, but the two that I liked, some people felt they were too modern. They didn't really match the building. Did you feel that way?
No.
Oh, okay.
Wait, you
Because we
need
have-
They have to look
colonial
like if
trash.
they're not modern,
Yeah.
You know?
Colonial
Like if they're
trash.
not modern,
Yeah.
You know, rusty and white.
Yeah.
The door squeaks when you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you need a?
Exactly.
Well, you should stainless
And then when it
steel.
gets filled up, then you gotta.
Well, no, because we don't have any good space out front. We could move it inside into the glassed-in area between, but I also I wanna have a garbage can out and recycling outside, cause we
Yeah.
have events when, like, for example, the civic celebration, we have tons of garbage. It's
Mhm.
National Night Out, have tons of garbage,
You need-
and
yeah, you
the
need one
trunk or
permanently
treat,
outside, yeah.
board ones throughout the parking lot.
Blue subscribe. Or blue.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you didn't see it, we got a mention in the Southern Suburb Review and
Yeah.
Milwaukee Magazine.
Yeah.
So,
Send-
Super.
Anything else?
Yeah. No? Okay.
I just have one other question. What's going on next door?
That's the night readers.
They're rowdy.
Yeah.
And they have food.
Every month.
Do they have alcohol?
Do they have
It seems like
booze?
they're really jovial tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of whistling
They're-
going on.
They're a very close group.
That's nice.
They have food?
They're, they're a very close group.
They have food?
Yes.
We started our meetings from Tuesday to now and
Ellen, you brought food.
I saw them bring in
Yeah,
food.
they
in.
have food.
I bet theirs is better.
It took a few years to get a night that. It took a few years to get our night readers group off the ground. Like, for years, it seemed like there would only be like 5 or 6, and then something happened.
They started bringing food.
Maybe that's it. All of a sudden,
How many
all of a
people are up
sudden,
there?
15 to 20 usually.
How
All
many
of a
people are up
sudden,
there?
15 to 20 usually is what we
Really?
have for that.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
it's a good sized group.
They seem like they're hard of hearing.
Maybe that's.
hey, you're on the record here.
You don't need your ears to read.
Alrighty, guys, our next meeting, which is I think it is the 4th. We didn't have to adjust it. It is the 4th Monday in May. 1, 2, 3, yep.
Now, before Andy makes a motion to adjourn, I was
You
just
don't
gonna
know
say, with May coming up next month, that's, right, so finance needs to meet.
I'll send a
Okay, thank you.
I'll send a poll out.
So we'll,
I'm on that committee.
Next month.
So
Watching.
is the June meeting then the 27th?
The 27th is the 4th Monday.
Aw.
Oh, so not May?
that's when we can have
What?
food.
Not May?
That's when we'll have food.
We'll have
Yeah.
food that day.
Oh, I'm under contract till June 30th.
Okay,
So I would feel responsible for
Sure.
being here.
okay,
Excellent.
okay.
We can check the school lunch menu for that day.
All right, so does anyone know right now that they have issues with the 23rd?
I should, but we'll see.
All right.
I would like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Alan, did you second?
Yeah.
Okay, Alan seconded, 7:43.
Nope.
All right, motion carries.